How can we learn to be content? Our society has really conditioned us to always want more. More toys, more upgrades, more likes, more holidays, more prestige, more power, more money. And our circumstances at the moment make us want more. We feel so limited. We want more freedom, and we want, more opportunities, and we want more of what we used to have. It's very difficult to be content. As Paul is wrapping up his letter to the church in Philippi, he actually shares the secret to being content no matter what the circumstances. Paul writes in Philippians chapter 4, verses 10 to 19, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I've learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Yet it was good of you to share my troubles. Moreover, as you Philippians know, in the early days of your acquaintance with the gospel, when I set out from Macedonia, not one church shared with me the matter of giving and receiving except you only. For even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent me aid more than once when I was in need. Not that I desire your gifts. What I desire is that more to be credited to your account. I have received full payment and have more than enough. I am amply supplied, now that I have received from Epaphroditus the gifts you sent. They are a fragrant offering, an acceptable sacrifice, pleasing to God. And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. There were two schools of thought during Paul's day. There were the Stoics who believed that heaven and earth were the same, that there was nothing else outside of it, nothing was going to change. Things are just how they are, so you just have to kind of grit your teeth and get through it. And then there were the Epicureans who believed that the gods don't care about humanity. They're off doing their own thing. And so we might as well just pursue pleasure and be as comfortable as possible so that we can kind of escape pain and live in the pursuit of happiness. And for Paul, he's saying, hey, there's a third way to peace. There's a third way to respond to circumstances. And that pathway to peace is found through Jesus Christ. He says, I've learned the secret of being content, and that is that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And that strength comes from recognizing and understanding that God has a plan for the whole world, a plan of redemption, of reconciliation, and of healing. And that God calls us to participate in that plan, so that we're not just gritting our teeth and trying to just get through life, nor are we trying to escape the pain and just pursue pleasure, but we're actually participating in the change, that we're actually being a part of the mission, of being part of God's work to bring about healing and reconciliation and change for the world. So for Paul, who was in prison, hungry and cold, he was not afraid because he knew that God would provide. He was able to be content because he knew that God had a plan for the world and for his own life. And that plan included inspiring the Philippians to give generously for Paul's needs. And he was someone who understood how to receive gracefully, who understood that this wasn't a charity, that this was part of God's plan for him and for them. And so Paul says, hey, I will willingly, gracefully accept what you have given me, accepting that this is part of God's plan. And I pray that God will provide for your needs. And so there's this beautiful chain of grace where we recognize that we can receive from others and from God, and we're able to give, so that when we're in need, we can receive, and when we have more than enough, we can share. And so for Christians, that's the pathway to peace and contentment. When we don't have enough, to be grateful for what we have, and to recognize and to trust that God will provide for us through other people, through other agencies. And that when we have more than enough, to be grateful for what we have, and to look around and see that others are in need and to share with them. And so whether we're in need or whether we have plenty, we can be content with what we have, and we can experience the peace of God. So we have a choice today as we face our unique circumstances, as we face the challenges, and as we look around us and see what others have and what we have or we don't have. We have a choice in how we respond. Are we going to just, put our heads down and work harder and just push through it? Are we going to pursue pleasure and wait for the next holiday, wait for the next, thing to escape to? Or are we going to participate in God's plan of redemption and healing and grace and generosity? And I want to challenge all of us, including myself, to choose that pathway to peace, that pathway that includes going to Christ, gaining strength from Him to receive and to give, and to believe and trust that God will supply all our needs according to His riches in Christ Jesus. Some reflection questions for you this week. Think of a time when God provided for you financially, socially, or spiritually. How did He provide? And how might He be providing for you again now? Think of someone who might be in need, financially, socially, and spiritually in your community. How can you be a participant of God's providence? I pray that as you look at how much God has given you and how much we can give to others, that you will experience the secret of contentment and peace in your life. God bless.